Oh hey guys, and welcome to my March wrap-up. While it didn't feel it, March was actually a really good reading month for me. I actually read 9 books, and I don't really know how, because it really feels like I had no time for reading whatsoever. This is also a good month because I generally liked everything I read, and usually that doesn't happen. It was one, but we will talk about that later. So the first couple of books I read I actually borrowed from the library and I've taken them back. But the first one was Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson, and this is kind of a superhero dystopian. I didn't really know what to expect from this, but in the end I actually really enjoyed it. The characters may not have been the strongest, but it was a book that was full of action and it was just cool in a way. This book would basically be what would happen if the Avengers were evil. It's also been mentioned quite a lot on booktube, so I'm not going to go into it. In the end, I actually gave this one 4.5 stars just because it was just such a fun read. And I am going to look out for more books from Brandon Sanderson in the future. Then the next book I read was City of Fallen Angels by Cassandra Clare, and this is the 4th in the Mortal Instruments series. As you know, I've been marathoning these, and I'm actually taking a break now. This is sort of her continuation of the series after it closed in City of Glass. I have to say and agree with a lot of people that this wasn't as good as the first 3. It's not that it feels unnecessary, there was definitely an interesting plotline left open at the end of the last one to continue from, but this book sort of unfortunately followed some of the characters that aren't necessarily my favourites from the series. I will, however, definitely be reading the 5th and 6th because generally these are really fun books. I think in the end I actually gave this entry 3 stars, but I did like it, and as I said, I will continue on with the other ones. The next book I read was Tallulah Rising by Glenn Duncan, and if you saw one of my wrap-ups where I read The Last Werewolf, the first in this series, I gave that one 5 stars. This is the continuation and the sequel. And I love this one again too. I really love Glenn Duncan's writing style, and I can't wait to pick up more books by him. He has another book called I, Lucifer, which is told from the perspective of the devil, which just sounds really intriguing. Can't wait to pick it up. I'm not going to talk about this one much because it is a sequel and it is a direct continuation, so I don't want to spoil anything in case any of you are thinking about picking up The Last Werewolf. But yeah, really enjoyed it and cannot wait for number 3. Next book I read has been all over booktube again recently, and that is Half Bad by Sally Green. And I did not like this as much as everybody else did. I felt it was a tiny bit overhyped. It basically deals with a world that is made up of white witches and black witches, or good and evil if you will. Our main character, Nathan, is actually half and half, so he's trying to figure out where he belongs in this society. All in all, I had a few big problems with this novel actually. In this, the main character's father is sort of the Voldemort of this universe. Described as really evil, he kills lots of people. Our main character is obsessed with meeting him and thinking that he is going to come save him. And I just found myself thinking, like, did you not hear your father was evil? Because he is. Also, for a book with witches, this has surprisingly little magic. Call me crazy, but I expect magic from my witch books. In its defense, I will say that it does have quite an intriguing writing style, and it definitely got better towards the end. Whether that is enough for me to pick up the sequel, I am not entirely sure. In the end, I think I gave this 2.5 stars. Straight down the middle, 2.5. The next book I read was The Free by Sarah Lotz. This is a story about multiple plane crashes, and it follows the lives of the 3 child survivors who survived those crashes. This was a weird novel. It's told again from multiple perspectives, and it deals with the idea that the people who survived these crashes only did so because they are actually the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. After they survive, conspiracies are sort of made about them, and it turns into sort of a religious witch hunt. It's one of those novels that I felt had a very intriguing story, but sort of missed out on the execution. Definitely found it to be overly long, and it had a very ambiguous ending, and if you know anything about me, you know I hate ambiguous endings, especially in horror novels. Because I feel with horror I just want a very specific end. I don't want to read 400 pages and sort of have to figure out the story by myself. I want a clear-cut and precise ending, and that's not what I got in this book. Overall, I was relatively disappointed, so I gave this 2 stars, saying it was just okay for me. The next book I read was Openly Straight by Bill Kreuzenberg. Again, who knows? It was a light contemporary read, and this basically deals with an openly gay character who starts a new school and decides to go back into the closet and keep his orientation a secret. I actually really enjoyed this novel. YA Contemporary is not one that I usually read or enjoy, but I found this to be quite a nice, sweet read, and it does have a good message about the importance of being yourself. I felt the romance was quite realistic and different, and it also takes place in a boarding school, so, you know, automatic win. In the end, I gave Openly Straight 4 stars out of 5. Next book I sort of read in the month of March, I got about 200 pages in, was Tampa by Alyssa Nutting. I think that covers sexual. This novel is compared to Vladimir Nabokov's Lolita, as it deals with a woman teacher who actually chose that job so she could seduce young boys. It has a lot of controversy about it because it's sort of an unapologetic look at paedophilia. Overall, I think there's a very fine line between transgressive lit and just sort of shocking for the sake of being shocking pulp fiction, I guess. And this novel definitely crossed that line for me. It's not a nice subject matter, and I'm just gonna say, don't bother reading this one. Because not only does it deal with a disturbing topic, it's just sort of an empty read. And there's no moral quandary happening here. Actually, because of the lack of moral quandary, it just became repetitive. It's a woman talking about how she fancies boys a lot. In the end, I gave it 1 star, and I do not recommend this. I also took this one out from the library, and I really don't know how I'm going to look them in the eyes again. Last book, finally, that I read in the month of March was Veronica Mars and the $1,000 Tan Line by Rob Thomas. This is the continuation of the series. Don't know what my expectations were for this novel, but I really enjoyed it. It actually feels like it can stand on its own with good writing, good story, good mystery. Overall, if you're not a fan of Veronica Mars, I don't think that this will convert you, but if you are, I highly recommend this one. In the end, the marshmallow in me gave this one 5 stars, and I cannot wait for book number 2. Brilliant. It's brilliant. If you didn't know, for the month of April, I have a theme TBR dealing with books that deal with LGBT protagonists. I will leave my April TBR video linked below. As always, if you have read any of the books that I have read this month, please leave me some comments below telling me what you thought. So yeah, I guess that is going to be all from me for today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I shall see you soon with another one. Goodbye!